Let's go ahead and bring on Barry Nussbaum, my dear friend, another freedom fighter and also founder of American Truth Project, a nonprofit organization. It is a nonprofit, so you may want to make a tax-deductible donation. A nonprofit organization working very hard to inform, especially Americans, of all the dangers we're facing from national security to jihad and Islamization to why and how we should support Israel. How's it going, Barry?
It's great, and it's wonderful to be back with you, Annie. I missed you for a couple of weeks. I'm glad your travels went well, but it's good to be back.
Yes, I am. As I was traveling, actually, I was thinking, I'm like, great. The 1 week that we had to postpone our usual Wednesday, it's where UN is happening, and they're grabbing it by the horn, and they're giving Palestine the country, and we can't get on air and talk about it, but that's all right. We'll talk about it today. I know we have a lot to discuss, like always, and I know we're going to run out of time, so I'm going to make my comments a little shorter and let you have more time. But I know yesterday on my show, as it was October 7th, I covered where my thoughts are on 2 years since the massacre of October 7th by Hamas and where we're at. So why don't you start there? Tell us where your head is at day after the second year since the massacre and where things are at.
Oh, that is such a tough question to answer in under 30 minutes, but I'll do my best.
You got 45.
Watching the world reaction yesterday was very disheartening. To put in perspective of what happened to Israel 2 years ago yesterday, when hordes, thousands of Gazans poured across the border, it wasn't to create, or I should say, correct misconceptions in the mass media. It wasn't just Hamas. It was citizenry, regular people from the streets that gladly joined the brigades of animalistic barbarians that went on a slaughter spree. They were so proud of what they did, unlike even the Nazis in World War II that wanted to keep the death camps a secret. These monsters GoPro'd live on the internet, streaming the brutality in southern Israel. We don't have to go into the graphic details of the men, women, children, old, young, pregnant women, the rapes, the beheadings, and so on. The horror story should have been condemned universally by the world, and it should still be condemned universally by the world. And yet, 2 years later, Annie, millions took to the streets in Europe and actually here in the States as well, demonstrating their support for not only the Palestinian cause, whatever that might be, but for Hamas as a terror group. It's as if the United States, after the brutality it suffered on 9/11, or even more, I would say, more of a surprise in terms of the magnitude that came after the Pearl Harbor bombing in 1941, that the Japanese celebrated it every year, and their descendants here in America were celebrating. It's a horror that the Japanese are ashamed of, and they offer condolences on December 7th. Can you imagine if there were demonstrations in the streets of America celebrating the victory on September 11th, 2001, by the disciples of Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda for the slaughter of Americans in New York and Washington and Pennsylvania? It's unfathomable to us, but that's what Israel's going through right now. The demonstrations around the world yesterday were not for the release of the 48 hostages still in the terror tunnels under Gaza, but it was for Hamas. There were demonstrations for Palestinian Islamic Jihad. There were demonstrations for radical groups that support the worldwide caliphate ideas of these crazed Muslims that think they're following the dictates of their prophet. The public opinion war is decidedly anti-Israel. in spite of the fact that in terms of proportional response to what happened 2 years ago yesterday, Israel has fought the most moral, responsive war in world history. Israel's in the position now of doing something that's never happened. They were invaded, they were slaughtered, they have fought back heroically, and they are feeding the enemy. They are feeding the enemy daily. They're providing food, water, power on a daily basis. They do something that has never happened in the history of warfare. They drop millions of leaflets before they bomb a building. They evacuate the civilian population before they invade looking for the terrorists. They announce on cell phone text. They announce on loudspeakers. This has never happened. And yet, no matter how moral the army is, the Jews are condemned for defending their country, for preventing more slaughter of their citizenry. Yesterday was a very solemn day, and when I look at the public opinion that has been orchestrated by the worldwide funding from, well, Qatar and other similar places, it's very discouraging.
It most certainly is. Yes, I actually started my show yesterday by saying I'm not going to be nice. Not that I'm ever nice, but today I'm definitely not going to be nice, because but when I started watching very early morning from Europe, what was going on? The only video I played was the ceremony, the celebration that was taking place at London Bridge, with the smoke and the drums and the dancing. It was just heart-wrenching. Forget about the knowledge. I'll say for a second, let's say majority of people don't have the knowledge of Islam and Islamization and Sharia and what the manifesto of Hamas is. Even outside of that, for anyone to celebrate that day, and they can claim on my Substack yesterday, what I said, Barry, was nobody can claim they don't know what happened on October 7th. Now, many of them have the excuse of nothing justifies genocide. Okay, fine, that's a discussion for another segment. But everybody is aware exactly what happened that day. So if the poor children and women of Gaza are innocents being targeted, how come the innocent women, girls, and babies who were targeted on October 7th don't get to be mourned, but rather their death, their brutal rape and burning becomes a celebration? Again, my whole point yesterday wasn't even though it's hard for me not to have my passion for Israel and the Jewish people, but it wasn't even that. It was the absolute disappointment in existence of human society on values of satanic rituals. Like, forget about Gaza, forget about Palestine, Israel, Iran, forget about the location. Just a thought process has become so normalized to celebrate death. And we both know which satanic cult teaches that one. Right? So it's like, well, we're already handed over the throne. And I'm not talking about Christ's throne. I'm talking about the humanity throne. We have handed it over without even knowing that we just handed it over to the satanic cult known as Islam. We have 1 minute until ad break. So your thoughts on how I was feeling yesterday.
Well, I agree with you 100%. You know, the barbarism that was seen around the world, courtesy of the GoPro cameras and the live videos being broadcast, and I mean streamed during the slaughter, showed a depravity the world has not seen since World War II in the death camps. And it reminds me that in some places, specifically in Gaza, where that lack of civilization was dragged across the border on October 7th, it's as if we're back 1,500 years into the Dark Ages, and the perpetrators of this horrific crime against humanity, are reliving the previous barbarism of the Middle Ages. Islam, in many cases, like 2 years ago, hasn't progressed in terms of civilization. What you saw was so savage. It's as if 1,500 years of human progression had been wiped out. And we were back in the dark ages again. I don't know how else to describe it, where it's still being celebrated, Annie. Yesterday was a national holiday for the people that wanted to celebrate. And it's not just in Gaza, it's the Islamic culture being literally exported around the world. Like you said, London, Paris, Belgium, Spain, Italy, France, Greece, New
Chicago,
York.
New York,
Yes,
Portland.
absolutely.
Yes.
They're marching to celebrate mass death. Who would have thought in 2025 that this would still be in existence and growing?